Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. For today's video, I've also got two stories for you and both of them have updates. So let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user QuickPotato2810. Am I the a-hole for telling my father that I don't care how nice his new girlfriend is, she'll never be welcome at my home? My 33 female father, 60s, can't keep a girlfriend for long. My mom divorced him when I was a child and since then he's had no interest in remarrying and settling down. Today, his relationships don't tend to last much longer than a year. I'm married with 2 kids, 8 male and 4 female. Because I didn't want them to get attached to a new step-grandma every few months, I laid some ground rules when my son was born. My father wasn't allowed to introduce any new girlfriends to them until 6 months into the relationship. For most of my kids' lives, we had no problem with that. Then came my father's girlfriend from 2022, who was an absolute nightmare of a person. My kids only met her once, but it was enough for me to consider her unsafe to be around my family. Though they later broke up, my father initially tried to justify her behavior. Because of that whole affair, I changed the rules. He'd have to wait a year instead of 6 months before introducing new girlfriends. If he tried to do so before that, she'd never be allowed to come to my place. He protested at first because most of his relationships don't last that long, but I held my ground, and he eventually agreed. He was with another woman for 9 months last year, and my children never met her. My father has been with his newest girlfriend for 6 months. I've never really met her because she lives an hour away. She is apparently kid-obsessed and has been asking him to meet his grandkids for a while. He's tried to convince me to make an exception for her for a few months, but I always say no and remind him of my rules. My daughter is turning 4 this week and we threw her a birthday party yesterday. It took place in an event space in our building. My father showed up an hour late with his new girlfriend. I approached them to ask what he was doing. He said that his girlfriend was excited to meet my kids and he thought the birthday party would be a good place to introduce them. Because they'd been together for half a year already, he didn't think it would be such a big deal. I told him the girlfriend had to leave before my kids saw her. My dad tried to give other excuses, such as the fact that my stepdad, who's been with my mom for more than 20 years, was there and said that if she left, so would he. I told him to be my guest, and they both left. Earlier today, my father called me. He told me off for kicking them out of the party. He said my rules were too restrictive and his girlfriend was a lovely person who deserved to meet my kids. I told him that not only did I not care how nice she was, but I'd also never welcome her at my home after the stunt he pulled. She can meet my kids after the 12-month mark, but not at my place. We fought for a while before he hung up on me. My husband and my sister, who's staying with us for a few days, witnessed most of the fight. My husband is on my side, but my sister thinks I'm being needlessly cruel to a woman I've never met. Am I the a-hole? No, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole. I think it's actually really simple. Whose kids are they? Yours and your husband, so only you two get to decide who deserves to meet your kids. I don't care what your sister says, I don't care what your dad says. And if she's a very lovely person, well, that's still up for debate because you haven't met her, so don't take your dad's word for it. I mean, considering it was one of his choice for girlfriend, the one that made you change that rule. So no, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole. I think your dad is an a-hole, of course, and I'm not really sure about his girlfriend because we don't know if she knew about your rules or not. If she did know about your rule and still went along with this thing because she thought maybe putting you in the spot would allow her to meet your kids, then she's a creepy a-hole. Now, if she knew nothing about this and your dad orchestrated this whole thing, that means he doesn't respect you, and that's a whole different topic you'd need to address with him. And what is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Recent Data 305 says, not the a-hole. Your dad doesn't respect women. Look at his record. He ignores you and can't stay in a relationship for 1 single year. I'd guess he has been ignoring women's boundaries for his entire life. It's his fault the boundaries keep getting stronger. I'd also guess your sister is younger and or has no children, meaning she is clueless about what you're dealing with. Stand firm, OP. He's gonna keep messing up. And OP responds, yes, she's younger with no kids, but while she doesn't get what I'm dealing with, she has an idea what my kids go through, which is why I sometimes listen to her when she defends my father. Fairy Kid A says, not the a-hole. Kids are going through a lot in life, still processing the world. You're doing your best to protect them from a never-ending revolving door of grandfather's girlfriends. Stick to your boundaries. And OP responds, that's always my greatest concern. I grew up with that revolving door, and it's always been clear how much it affected me and my sister. I don't want my kids to know what that lack of consistency is like. They may have married parents, but they also have a step-grandpa, a grandfather who passed away before they were even projects, my father-in-law, and a grandmother who lives in a different state, my mother-in-law. Slayer of Drums says, not the a-hole, because your house, your rules. And I think you were perfectly right to call him out when he tried to get his way at the birthday party. That's just disrespectful. But is there another way to look at this? Can your dad just bring a friend that doesn't need to be introduced as a new grandmother right away? And OP responds, I tried that a while ago. I think my son was 4 at the time and I was pregnant. That particular girl kinda ruined it by kissing my father in front of my son. Additional information from OP's comments. I think my dad's girlfriend knew about my rules. 4 months into the relationship, my father started asking me to let him introduce her to them. Either he told her or he came up with excuses for 2 months. My father is terrible with boundaries. Let's put it this way. He wants a door, I give him a window instead. He says he's fine with the window. Next thing I know, he's throwing rocks at the window until it's big enough to be the door he wants. Now, I have no problem with my father's lifestyle. If he wants a new girlfriend every few months, that's fine, but I do expect him to leave my kids out of this. I experienced that lack of stability as a child, and I don't want my children to go through it as well. When my son saw his grandpa kiss his friend, it was an odd conversation, so I don't want to try the grandpa's friend strategy again. OP's edit. About the woman my father dated in 2022, I'll add an explanation here. On our first meeting with her, the girlfriend slapped my then 2-year-old daughter because she spilled a cup of juice on her lap, staining her white dress. We were across the room and weren't able to stop her until it was too late. When we confronted her, the excuse was that the dress was new and expensive. She refused to apologize. My daughter doesn't remember it, but my son witnessed the whole thing. My father only defended her when we kicked her out. He broke up with her the next day and apologized profusely. It took us a few months and a lot of talking things through to let him near our kids after that. Okay, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole, her kids, her rules, and OP admits that her dad is a narcissist, and now we also know why OP doesn't want any new girlfriends around her kid. And yeah, the dad defending the girlfriend after what she did to OP's daughter, unforgivable. Now, of course, we've got the update to the story, so let's move on with that to see how the story ends. Hi everyone, I have some things I should clarify about my relationship with my father before the update. First, those who said I don't like my father or don't approve of his lifestyle are jumping to conclusions. I love my father very much and I'm grateful for everything he's done for me. But yeah, he's an a-hole. We've had a rough relationship since I was a kid. It got much better after I moved out, mostly because we both realized we wouldn't have any relationship whatsoever if we didn't make an effort to change. As much as my father has become a better person, he still has some extremely narcissistic tendencies that make themselves obvious now and then. The one that's most relevant in this situation is the fact that he is terrible with boundaries. One of the main reasons our relationship was so rocky when I was younger was that I had no means of restoring my boundaries. Now that we don't live together and I pay my own bills, it's gotten easier to stop him from trampling my boundaries in the first place. On that note, my father is a pretty hands-on grandfather. We only see him once a month, but he FaceTimes me frequently and the kids love him. Also, it's not that I don't approve of my father's lifestyle, I simply don't care. I'm 33 years old. I have a job, a husband, and 2 children. My father's dating habits are neither my business nor my concern. He can date anyone he wants for as long as he wants, as long as everyone is over 18 and not a complete monster. What I do care about is how this affects my children. I've been dealing with my father's revolving door since I was 10. Back then, his relationships tended to last at least 2 years, but it still took a toll on both me and my younger sister. The first woman my father dated after the divorce was insane and ruined my childhood. The next one was amazing but didn't stick around for long. The following one was unpleasant. The list goes on. The last thing I want to add here is that my father has another major problem. He is obsessed with both pleasing everyone and the idea that I have to please everyone. That almost ruined our relationship completely when I was younger, and sadly, he hasn't really let go of that yet. The former is why he defended his 2022 girlfriend, and the latter is the reason he was so pissed at me for banning his new girlfriend after the party fiasco. Okay, let's move on to the actual update. My father and I had a minor fight over the phone about what happened at the party on Monday. 2 days later, his new girlfriend called me. She asked me why I'd banned her from my home before even meeting her or introducing my children. I told them to leave before the kids saw them. I asked her if she knew about my 12-month rule, and not only did she know, but she also insisted that my father break the rule anyway. She said she was great with kids and knew my children would love her, so she thought it wouldn't be a big deal for me to make an exception for her. I came very close to hanging up on her when she said that. The whole reason I even came to Reddit was because I thought I was being unfair to her, but this made it clear to me that she was also in the wrong. Instead, I decided to explain the 2022 incident. She didn't know about it. When I was done, she said she understood why the rule was created and apologized for trying to break it. I called my father the next day. I told him about the chat I'd had with his girlfriend, and he confirmed everything. He took her to the party because she wanted to go and he wanted to make her happy. We had a very long discussion that almost escalated into a fight. I reminded him of the reasons my rule existed. The only one he truly deemed valid was the 2022 incident, which he's still ashamed of. The discussion touched on many other topics, but the main one was that my children are the priority. I told my father that my main concern was protecting them, and I wouldn't hesitate to cut anyone off, including family, if it meant doing so. In the end, he agreed to deal with the consequences. His new girlfriend will be allowed to meet my kids at the 12-month mark, but she won't be welcome at my place. But if he tries to pull this stunt again, they'll both be cut off. We ended the call on a cold note, but he called me again on Friday. He apologized for everything and said I was a great mother. I could tell that he was being sincere at this point, so I accepted the apology. Knowing my family, I don't think there will be any problems with this for a while, and if there are, I've got it covered. I think this will be my last post. Thank you all for the support and encouragement you've given me. Well, OP, based on what you've told us, I agree with your dad. You sound like a great mom considering you've got your priorities very straight, and that is that your children come first. So I'm gonna call this a happy update because your children are okay regardless of the girlfriend who wanted to break the rule and your dad who wanted to please her. So on that note, here's wishing you the best in the future. Thank you for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I Wrong, and it's by user MinuteShip4330. I didn't invite one of my best friends to my girlfriend's birthday party and he's upset. I'm 26 male. My girlfriend, 22 female, is turning 23 in a month, and I'm organizing a surprise birthday dinner for her at a large restaurant with some of her friends. We've been dating since December 2020, when we were 23 and 19, so we've come a long way, and I plan on proposing to her this year. She likes most of my friends except for one of them. One of my best friends, 26 male, who I've known since 2009 when we were 12 years old. Despises him. She says he's rude and insufferable to be around. Her friends also don't like him. I don't know why, but whenever we're all together, those two don't get along. He is also more critical of her to me than any of my other friends. To be fair, he's like that towards everyone's girlfriend. He prides himself on being a crap talker, but the rest of us have learned to ignore him. It's to the point where my girl explicitly tells me she won't go out with my friends and me if he's there. I hate to use an Office reference, but it's almost comparable to how much Pam and Ryan dislike each other in the later seasons, except slightly worse. So, of course, I'd be stupid to invite him to her birthday party, right? I thought that was a pretty reasonable decision. I told her earlier this month I'd take her to this fancy and expensive Mediterranean restaurant she's always been wanting to go to for her birthday as a date. What she doesn't know is I made a reservation for 22 people, 6 of my friends who she likes, 13 of hers, her sister, and of course the 2 of us. They all know. We have a group chat and we're keeping it a secret. Now, today at work, he messaged me asking where his invite was. I'm not even sure how he found out, but obviously one of my friends must have let it slip, which doesn't make sense since we agreed he shouldn't be there. I explained that she really doesn't like him and inviting him to her birthday would be disrespectful, adding that if it were mine, he'd be one of the first I'd invite. He tells me how betrayed he felt that I left him out like that on such a big occasion and a few more blocks of text venting to me. Never seen him that serious. He's usually a goofball in our text conversations. I feel bad leaving him out, but why would I invite someone my girlfriend actively dislikes to her birthday? Am I wrong? No, OP, you're not wrong. You're actually inviting people that your girlfriend likes. She doesn't like your friend, you know it, and he knows it. So why is he making such a big deal out of this? Probably because he's just trying to give you a hard time because he's a crap talker and that's who he is. Let me guess, he's also one of these people that takes pride in being somebody who just doesn't give a crap about what other people think about them, so he just calls it like he sees it, right? So no, OP, you are not wrong. Your friend just doubled his workload. He got angry and now he needs to get over it because it's not about him. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's go check out the community comments. Lady Alice Magnus says, tell him to grow up, and crap talking is nothing to be proud of. Crocodile Zebra Milk says, so your girlfriend sees your friend's behavior as an issue and refuses to be around him. Her friend sees your friend's behavior as an issue and refuse to be around him. You and your friends admit you all see an issue and choose to ignore it. It sounds like your best friend is the a-hole wherever he goes, and you and your friend group just enable his behavior to the point where he thinks it's okay to continue to act this way. Local Gazelle 538 says, tell him if he stops being an a-hole and crap talking, then he might get invited to things. Tell him all your friend group is over it and he needs to cut it out. If something happened 2 years ago to change his personality, then suggest therapy. Alright, well, the community agree that apparently the friend is an a-hole and that OP is not wrong. So now let's finish this story with the update to see how it ends. I work remotely once a week and decided to do that today because I didn't get much sleep last night and was dealing with this stressful situation. I gave my friend the time and space that he needed before giving him a call at 9 AM. I spent about a full minute apologizing for going behind his back and making him feel left out of the whole situation. Before I could continue, he apologized to me for overreacting and feeling entitled. After that, I spent about 5 minutes telling him that the way he behaves in front of her, her friends, and other people's girlfriends is unacceptable. He needs to work on the way he treats them and other people outside of our friend group. I told him that this was my future wife, the future mother of my children. She will be a part of my life and, just as importantly, his life as well if we're friends. I'm not going to ignore any more disrespect towards my woman, and if he keeps this up, he will not be able to make it to our wedding. I told him that he's important to me and I want him to be a part of our life, but in order for that to happen, he needs to find a way to fix his behavior around our partners. I told him he needed to apologize to her, and since she is a very forgiving and caring person, she'd be more than willing to give him another chance if and only if he swears never to cross this boundary of crap stirring again. There's a reason her friends don't like him, and we, his friend group, can respect that decision. I also told him that if he ever wants to sit down with me and to talk about what's been causing him to act so childish since 2021, then I'm here for him. He gave me an equally long talk apologizing and telling me he didn't perceive his words to be more than mere banter, although they were very clearly much more than that. Lol. Told me he swore to keep my girl's name out of his mouth in any disrespectful way as well. As of now, we've agreed that he should meet my girlfriend and her sister, 20 or 21 I forgot, in person and apologize to both since she also really doesn't like him and they had a bit of an argument the one and only time they met. He told me that he sort of likes her sister, which sort of made sense, but I told him to forget that idea since she already hates him and the farthest he'll ever get with her is forgiveness and tolerance at this point. Anyways, that's it. Sort of boring, but I'm glad we got it sorted out. He's also accepted that he won't be at her birthday. Well, OP, it might be a non-dramatic update, but I think it's still a good one. The fact that your friend was accepting of your feedback and wants to do something about it, that's one step in the right direction. So hopefully he's able to make that change. And on that note, wishing everybody here the best in the future. Thanks for sharing, OP, and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.